Hello, this is Michael Hunn. I am the Bishop of the Diocese of the Rio Grande, which encompasses the entire state of New Mexico and the far west part of Texas for the Episcopal Church. That's 40% of the U.S.-Mexico border. We received a second letter from Homeland Security. The letter came in on April 1st, but it's been Lent and Holy Week, and we've been talking to our legal counsel to try to figure out what our response would be, not just to the first letter, which you heard about in a previous video, but also what we'll do in response to this second letter. I want to share with you some of the content of the second letter and then tell you a little bit about what we are going to do going forward. There will be further information about our ongoing work with Rio Grande Borderland Ministries in subsequent videos. Let me read to you some of the letter we received on April 1st. This letter serves as official notice that the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA is terminating your Shelter and Services Program grant awards identified above, effective immediately. Your agency received the grant awards identified above to carry out the purposes of the SSP identified in the awards' respective NOFOs. The department, consistent with President Trump's direction, is focused on advancing the essential mission of enforcing immigration laws and securing the border. Consequently, grant programs that support or have the potential to support illegal immigration through funding illegal activities or support for illegal aliens that is not consistent with DHS's enforcement focus do not effectuate the agency's current priorities. Now, hang on a minute. I've got to stop right there. I can understand how one administration might have a different policy focus from previous administrations, but everything we did in our shelter program was in compliance with DHS and FEMA and the grant that we applied for. In fact, as I mentioned in our previous video, every person we looked after in our shelter was here legally. We served no one who was here illegally, and we were not a part of supporting any illegal immigration into the United States. We worked with people who were legally claiming asylum according to the government's process to legally claim asylum. The letter continues. The previous agency priorities under fiscal year 2023 and 2024 were to provide funding to non-federal entities to provide shelter, food, transportation, acute medical care, and personal hygiene supplies for individuals released from DHS short-term holding facilities. That's exactly right, and that's what we did. We, under the law, provided shelter, food, transportation, acute medical care, and personal hygiene supplies for individuals released from DHS to short-term facilities such as our shelter. That's what we did. It was completely legal and in compliance with the government program that the government set up. The letter goes on. The individuals receiving these services often have no legal status and are in the United States unlawfully. Hold on, that's not true. Everyone we worked with was here lawfully as a part of their claim to get asylum in the United States. The letter goes on. Individuals receiving these services often have no legal status and are in the United States unlawfully, such as those awaiting removal proceedings. We never worked with anyone awaiting removal proceedings. That's not what we were doing. This, in turn, provides support for illegal aliens and is not consistent with DHS's current priorities. Again, let me say it again loud and clear so everybody can understand. We were not supporting illegal aliens. We were working with people legally claiming asylum under the government's program. So what are we going to do about this letter? Well, first of all, the federal code that they're quoting in this letter does not allow them to cancel the program without first proving that we have violated the terms of the program. We have not violated the terms of the program, and we have not had due process or any sort of review that would allow them to determine that we have done something wrong. So we are appealing this letter and the previous letter. The fact of the matter is we have some $30,000 in receipts for work we did on behalf of the government that we are going to submit and request funding for. Now, as I've said before, we have not been actively working in this shelter since before the Trump administration took office. We have never done any work with the Trump administration. And so we're going to appeal this determination and request that they pay us the money they actually owe us. We are in the process of submitting evidence in order to demonstrate that we have always been in compliance with federal law in accordance with the terms of the program. And we're going to ask for reimbursal for the remaining $30,000 that we have yet to receive. Why are we going through all of this? Wouldn't it be easier for us to just let it all go? Well, there are two reasons why I think it's important that we appeal this letter. The first is the principle of the thing. I want to make it very clear to the government of the United States and to anybody else who is watching this video that the Diocese of the Rio Grande has never done anything illegal. We were working with, as partners working with the Department of Homeland Security in responding to an invitation from the government to join them with legal work with people who are legally claiming asylum. It's very important to me that we not just let the government insinuate that we were involved with something illegal without any kind of due process or determination that we did anything wrong. So we're going to push back on that and appeal. The second reason I think it's really important that we communicate to you in this way and communicate this to the government is to remind everybody that a person seeking asylum in the United States is not an illegal alien. They are following the law by legally claiming asylum because they are running for their lives. Now, such people do have to go through due process. They have to have interviews and go before judges to make sure that they are actually claiming asylum. And the government has a process to do that. So it's important for people to understand that if you claim asylum, there's a legal process you have to go through. But under that legal process, you have certain rights. You have a right to be heard about your claim to asylum. And the judge, an immigration judge, has to determine whether or not you are here, you have a legal right to claim asylum in the United States. So I think it's very important that everybody really understand that just because a person is trying to claim asylum, that does not mean that they are a criminal, and it does not mean that they are here illegally. So we're going to appeal, pushing back to make sure that the government complies with due process and in order to be a voice for those who are legally trying to claim asylum. I'll be back to you with future videos as this situation unfolds.